Pulled up the Loess Hills Harley, and what did I see? This beautiful Pan American waiting for me. Salesman Joe Garcia came up and asked me what I thought. I said, I think I'd like to take it for a ride. Asked me if I had a helmet and a driver's license. Why, sure I do. We'll fix you right up. Anyway, I thought he was going to let me take it around the parking lot or maybe, around the local area here. He says, take it out through the hills. We're Loess Hills Harley-Davidson, southwest Iowa. I ended up putting a half an hour on it, at least half an hour, through the hills of the Loess Hills of Iowa, beautiful Loess Hills. Bike was phenomenal, phenomenal. I'll start with the looks. I just love the looks, especially the right side and the front. I could do without the muffler, but there's aftermarket options for that. But no, they did, I think, a very good, it's definitely a Harley-Davidson. Nobody is ever going to look at this bike and think it's anything but a Harley. It's got the big V-twin, it's got the bulbous styling, it's got, it just, the new look of Harley is right there in front of you. I love the bike. There's the left side, and I think they could have did something a little bit, maybe to tie that up a little bit. But you know what? Maybe I'm being too picky. Beautiful motorcycle, folks. Beautiful motorcycle. Power is a 1252cc Revolution Max 60-degree liquid-cooled V-twin. That's their new hot rod engine, and a hot rod it is. 150 horsepower. 150 horsepower. 13-to-1 compression. 94 foot-pounds of torque. Isn't that something? So lots of power, lots of torque, and when I drove this, it had torque from the bottom on up. I mean, I never felt lacking. Something neat about this, the valves never have to be adjusted. I don't know why more motorcycle companies don't do that. That just should be a thing on a modern motorcycle, I believe. The power on this bike was very controllable, very even. I was in road mode. It has a sport mode and a couple off-road modes. I stayed out of those. I'm sure it's twitchier in those modes. It had plenty of power in the parking lot. It had plenty of power. Every time I never wanted for power. Got out on the road and opened it up, and she just lit to life. Got her over 6,000, and she just screamed. I think red line is 9,000 RPM, I believe. Anyway, very good, evenly controlled, even controllable power in the mode I was in. Plenty of it. Transmission is a 6-speed, very smooth. It feels like a close ratio box. Chain drive. I think it's an excellent powertrain. I think they've hit it out of the ballpark with this one. Handling. The bike is tall. I walked up to it. The first thing I thought was, whoa, that thing is tall. Seat height is variable from 30 to 34 inches, depending on different options that you can get with the bike, different seat options and things like that. Anyway, when I started riding it, or when I threw my leg over it, hit the start button, or brought the bike to life, the thing shrank down. It's got this system that lets it shrink 2 inches, so it shortened itself down. Started riding it. It did not feel heavy. It felt light. It felt nimble. I did first thing I did was a bunch of tight turns left and right, and figure eights, right there in the parking lot, and then on the road right outside, get the kind of feel of the bike. And she did not feel heavy. She did not feel tall. She felt very neutral handling. Didn't give me any indication of wanting to do, or pulling or pushing or wanting to throw herself on the ground. She was very controllable, very amicable in that sense. So I guess I'm saying she handled well. Handled when I got her out into the hills too, into the twisties. She turned real well. Her handling left me enjoying the ride rather than thinking about the bike. And this is a bike I'd never ridden before, So very good. Suspension is a monoshock in the rear, and the front is 47 millimeter front forks. The reverse forks. The lighter section of the fork is down low. The upper section is heavier. That gives you less spring weight on the bottom. It has a adaptive ride height. This particular motorcycle had an adaptive ride height. I can't remember if it's $1,000 or $1,500 feature. So what that does is when you come to a stop, it lowers the bike down. If you come to a stop suddenly, it lowers it fast. If you come to a stop slowly, it lowers it slowly. When you get on the bike, when you power it up, it shrinks down 2 inches. and then when you pull away, it grows by that amount. Something I really liked. I think it worked really well. The suspension is considered semi-adaptive, semi-active, I guess, semi-active suspension, and I'm not exactly sure what that means, and I couldn't really find a good definition for that on their website. Here I am. That windshield is just up and down, and the system worked pretty well. I did use it on the road too. It worked fine. You know, and this is the first time I'm using it, so it's a little clunky here, but I think it's a nice system. And by the way, it gave good wind protection. But anyway, semi-adaptive suspension varies on the road and with load. So you put somebody in the back, you load the bike up or unload it, the suspension changes. It also changes based on the riding mode you're in. So it'll act one way in one mode or the other, you know, depending on what mode you have her in. The bike has a hill lock. I don't know if that's an option or that was added to this bike, or if that's available on all bikes. Hill lock is you're on a hill, you grab the brake once, you let go of it, and it holds itself. It won't let itself roll backwards. It'll let itself go forward. Ground clearance on this bike is, since we're talking suspension, is about 8.2 inches. That's pretty good. I couldn't find suspension travel marks. Maybe I can put those in the video. The wheelbase is 62.2 inches. So that's a pretty good wheelbase for a road bike. You know, that'll make going down the interstate very good. I've got a 65 on my Honda. So, you know, long means it'll be a good, predictable, steady bike to run. The bike has a 5.6 gallon gas tank and is supposed to get in the high 40s, low 50s for gas mileage. So you got quite a good range. Dry weight on the bike is 530 pounds, so about 570 wet. Again, not too bad, not too bad. Seat height, like I said earlier, 30 inches low, 34 inches tall. The seat, you can get a low rider seat, and you can also get a tall rider seat. So there's 3 different seat options apparently. Then the seat itself is, you can pop it off with a key, and there's 2 settings. There's grooves, 2 grooves in the front, so you can adjust the way the seat actually sits. So very adjustable. Going to the brakes. The brakes I loved. The brakes were awesome. It's a link system between the front and the rear. Okay, the front brakes are Brembos, dual disc. Great big disc size. I'll look that up and see if I can find that. I couldn't find that out. Anyway, they're 4-piston calipers, monoblock, radial mounts. I mean, it's just got all the goodies you could ever want in brakes. And they felt like it too. I mean, the brake system, it was, you felt like you had awesome brakes. Very controllable, very good feel. Just, I loved it. I loved it. And the link system, which connects the front and the rear brake systems together, you can shut that off if that's something you don't like or don't want. And I'm also guessing that changes depending on what mode you're in. Let's go to the electronics on this thing. Start off riding modes. It's got 5 different riding modes. Rain, road, sport, and then I think it has 2 off-road modes. And then it has 3 adjustable modes that you can driver adjustable modes that you can make up for yourself. I don't know if both models, the S and the regular model, have all those modes, but I think they do. Something to check on when you go to your dealer, when you go to Loess Hills Harley and check it out. Anyway, you know, these are the things of modern motorcycles. These are what make a 150 horsepower motorcycle rideable in an everyday life. You know, these beautiful rider modes. The display is a 6.8-inch TFT display. I thought it was larger. It's got a USB-C connection on the right side. The display I thought was clear and easy to read. I'm about 60 years old, you know, close to it, and I wear bifocals. I had no trouble reading it at all. The speedo's in the center. The tack is on the outside. You know, it's got a fuel gauge, a heat gauge. The bike has a tire pressure monitoring system built in. I think you have to actually activate that to see what it is, but I think every bike should have that. I'm just going to throw in really quick. The wheels on this bike are the spokes. The other model has a mag system. Anyway, I did like the display, and it's adjustable also. You can adjust it. The lean angle of the display is adjustable. This switchgear on the bike, I felt it was high quality. It has normal blinkers on it. You know, the blinkers are on the left side. There's no right side, left side anymore. It's just on the left side. Probably has turn cancellation. I don't remember. The switchgear all worked very well. the thing that was, to me, was a little overwhelming was that there was over 25 buttons. There were about 25 buttons on there. So when you get this bike, you're going to have a learning curve to catch on to all that. So, but like I said, they all worked very well. Good placement from what I could see anyway. One thing the bike does have is cruise control, which every modern bike should have. And I would say, you know, it worked easy. It was easy to use and great. Mirrors stayed smooth too when I was running the bike down the road. But there's that display. And I think you have different options for the display also. Okay, conclusion. It's a great bike. I loved it. I love the way it rode. I love the power delivery. I love the way it acted. I love the way it did in tight situations and in curves. It just did everything well. It looks like a big, tall adventure bike, but it doesn't act like it. You know, it acts like a normal, everyday motorcycle, but yet it has the, I shouldn't say normal, because there's nothing normal about it. It's got loads of power and excellent handling, and most motorcycles don't just, you know, this is special in that way. The price is $17,500 to $21,500, depending on how you option it out. I think this S model starts at $20,000, and then if you get the ride height, adaptable ride height thing, that's another $1,000 or $1,500. I think the rims, the spoke wheels are also another $500. Very good looking motorcycle. I love the way it looks. It is an adventure bike. Most adventure bikes, you know, probably won't see much off-road use, but I would have this over a Goldwing. I love Goldwings, but I think this is lighter and more maneuverable and just funner. It'll go places a Goldwing won't go. Had awesome power, great looks, awesome handling. I love the way it handled. It did everything right. Things I didn't care for. I didn't care for the sound, but you know what? Aftermarket, right, guys? Or maybe that's just the new sound of Harley-Davidson. Maybe I just need to change my, you know, my dinosaur ways. Beautiful motorcycle, anyway. When I got off the motorcycle, I thought, wow, that is amazing. It rode great. This is a bike I could drive to California and back in a heartbeat. You know, it's the kind of bike you could get on in LA and in the morning on one day and 3 days later get off in Boston to have supper. You know, it's really that kind of a bike. If you had storage. What would I like to see? Well, one thing when I got off the bike, I thought I would love to see that lighter, a naked bike. I'd like to see this in a naked bike without the big tank, without the fairing, without all the crash bars. You know, it would be an awesome, you know, Ducati has the Monster. Triumph has the Scramblers. This would make an awesome version of something like that. Harley, will that sell for you? I don't know. Anyway, Pan American, right here. It's going to sell like hotcakes. It's a beautiful motorcycle. If you get a chance to ride one, get yourself down to the dealership. Loess Hills Harley's where I rode this one in southwest Iowa. Take her for a ride. Get out there and ride, guys. Enjoy life. It's short. Live it. Live it to the fullest. Wahoo! This beautiful motorcycle belongs to Joe Garcia, the salesman that I talked to at Loess Hills Harley-Davidson there in southwest Iowa. Give him a call. Look him up on the website. Get yourself down there and take one of their bikes for a ride. He's a true lover of motorcycles and can help you out. Joe Garcia, Loess Hills Harley-Davidson, southwest Iowa. A big thank you to them for the privilege of riding this motorcycle.